season of Lent here at St. Andrew. We have been hearing stories of how God's steadfast love, steadfast, never failing love, leads us through all sorts of difficulties and trials in this life. Through sin, grief, through fear, through desperation, demons, and failure. Over these weeks, these stories have been brought to our community here, brought to life through monologues given from the perspective of children. Today I want to share with you about this message of God leading us through death to everlasting life by that same power that raised Jesus from the dead, through the perspective of a child who was blessed by Jesus. I grew up in Judea beyond the Jordan. Lots of rabbis came through our area. They would spend a few days teaching. People from the whole area would come out to hear them. Whole families came. It was kind of like a party. The rabbi would teach. We would sit on blankets near the rabbi. And sometimes the synagogue leaders would come out to listen, but the adults would pay attention to what he said. Sometimes they would ask questions. The synagogue leaders asked really hard questions. We usually had a picnic lunch. I didn't really understand what the rabbi said, but it was fun to be there with everyone else. One day, my father was very excited. He said that there was a rabbi who was coming to teach. His name was Jesus. Father said that this rabbi had been here before. Father remembered when the teacher John baptized Jesus, something really strange happened. When Jesus came up out of the water, it was like the skies were torn open. A dove landed on Jesus' head. And someone said, "You are my beloved son. I am pleased with you." Everyone knew Joseph was Jesus' dad, and everyone knew Joseph was dead. Who could have said such a thing? Was it a voice from the heavens? Anyway, my father said that this Jesus was coming to teach. Father said that people were saying all kinds of things about Jesus. People were saying his teachings were different. People were saying he could do amazing things. Some even said he could perform miracles. Well, this Jesus was doing such amazing things and came to our town. And one day, my father took me by the hand and led me right up to Jesus. Some other fathers took their children to see Jesus too. Now, our fathers told Jesus' disciples that they wanted Jesus to bless us. Now, the disciples got really mad. And they said that Jesus was too busy to be bothered by children. But we were wondering what we should do. The disciples were so mad. And our fathers, they were trying to help us figure out how to get close to Jesus. But Jesus was upset with the disciples. Jesus said, children are special. Jesus said, kingdom of God belongs to children. And so then, one by one, Jesus picked each of us up. When Jesus picked me up, he held me really close. He looked me right in the eye. He placed his hand upon my head, and he gave me Aaron's blessing. I'd heard that blessing before, but no one had ever said it to me. Jesus said, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be kind to you. The Lord lift up his face upon you and give you peace." It was the most amazing thing. I got all tingly when Jesus blessed me. It was really special. After that, there was a lot of talk about Jesus in our town. Some people thought that Jesus was God's special chosen one. Others thought he was a fake and a troublemaker. I thought he had to be special because he blessed me. Well, later that year, my whole family went to Jerusalem for Passover. My father said it was a pilgrimage. We were heading toward Jerusalem, and lots of people were still talking about Jesus. And some were saying that at Passover, God would show us that Jesus was the special chosen one. Some people were saying that this Passover would be like no other. It seemed like the whole world was coming to Jerusalem. The streets were noisy and dusty. I was afraid I might be lost, so I stayed really close to my parents. When we got to Jerusalem, we heard all sorts of stories about what it was like when Jesus got there. People said there had been a parade. I wish we'd have been there for that. But we prepared to celebrate Passover with our whole family. It was a really special time. But then, Father got anxious. He said that Jesus and his followers were causing trouble. He said that the Roman soldiers were angry and on alert. I was so scared. I didn't want to be in Jerusalem if the soldiers were angry. Others said we needed to stay indoors. We didn't want to get caught up in any of the trouble. And then Father said Jesus had been arrested. He was on trial. People were wanting him to die. I was so confused. How could anyone want to hurt someone who blessed children? Father had heard that Jesus was supposed to die on Friday. I was so sad. I asked Father if he thought it was right that Jesus was going to die, and he said he didn't know. The next thing we heard was that it was over. Jesus was dead. I cried when I heard the news. I didn't understand any of it. I could still remember the way he looked at me when he blessed me. The first day of the week, we left for home. People started saying things along the way like, "Have you heard? Could it be true? I knew he was the special chosen one." All along, Father had been very quiet. Mother was too. When somebody came up to Father and said, "Have you heard?" he quickly said, "Heard what?" The person was so excited, he said, "Jesus, he is alive." My father held up a hand for the man to stop. "What?" he asked. "Alive? It cannot be," Father said. "Yes, alive," the man said. The women who were close to him went to his tomb this morning. It was empty. Jesus wasn't there, but an angel was. The angel said that Jesus was alive. The angel said to tell everyone. My father stood there with his mouth open. My mother shook her head. I jumped up and down. I couldn't believe it. I said, "Could it be? Oh, Father, please say it is so." And then the man said, "The woman called Mary, the one from Magdala," Jesus even spoke to her. Jesus called her by name. Jesus told her to go tell his friends that he is alive. And then the man ran on to the next group of people. Jesus, alive. The teacher that blessed me was dead. And now he was alive. It was the best news ever. A smile slowly spread across my father's face, and he started to say some words that he knew by heart from our scriptures. By the time he was done, he was practically shouting. He said, "There is a sound of exultation and victory in the tents of the righteous. The right hand of the Lord has triumphed. The right hand of the Lord is exalted, for I know that my Redeemer lives. And at the last he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been thus destroyed, then in my flesh I shall see God." I knew then it was true. Now, Jesus could bless everybody the way he blessed me. Now, the whole world would be blessed. I know that my Redeemer lives. I hope you know it too. Hallelujah. Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Hallelujah. I invite you to remain seated as we sing our hymn of the day.